So let's begin with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Chris Kohler. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Box. We're a Silicon Valley-based software company around cloud content management. So think basically one secure platform for all of your content in the cloud.
So Raj Patel, I am the former CFO of a company called Eyeglass Technologies. I'm currently a senior advisor for finance and analytics and technology at a company called Beehive 3D.
So my name is Kara Shortsleeve, and I currently serve as the CEO of a company called the Leadership Consortium. We're a growth company. We focus on leadership development, most predominantly for women and Black and Indigenous people of color.
What was the transition to remote work like for you?
We were, I would say, a headquarters sort of based company with people spread around the globe. But we weren't a remote company. We sort of made this decision to send everyone home and say, okay, no one come into the office around the globe, we're gonna shut this down. We pretty much had the tools and infrastructure, and luckily our product is actually, cloud-based for all of your content, so everyone at Box could access all of their, critical information. So it was pretty easy for us to, basically send everyone home and they could be productive sort of day zero.
The business I run today, we do a lot of remote work, and we have since we launched the business, actually. I think a lot of the practices we'd put in place together as an organization definitely served us well. From an operations standpoint, we connect as a team every day, no matter what. We have a standing call. It's quick. We call it our stand-up, but it's a time for the full team to come together. Connecting not only in the business, but allowing us to connect sort of personally. So that definitely carried us through.
The first thing that we ensured we did was we ensured that all of our infrastructure was in the cloud. And everyone had a laptop, so that automatically made it possible that our employees were at least connected online, and there was a sense of community.
You said that you had systems and practices in place that carried you through. Can you give us examples of what those were?
I have a fun captain on every team I've ever run. So I'm a huge fan of this has to bring you joy. We do more time working than anything other than sleeping, and so it better be worth it. And so we had some practices already in place where we do show and tell, and we exchange stories, and we do goofy things that were already sort of second nature to us, and therefore, as they carried us through a more demanding time, it didn't feel gimmicky, it didn't feel like something we had to sort of put in place, but we had some, we already had some texture for one another and how to sort of connect even when it's not the ideal setting.
We made sure that Mondays and Fridays, we talked to the entire team. And they could ask any question, nothing is off limits. If they're nervous and they didn't want to ask a question, they were welcome to call the CEO or myself, and anything.
As any Silicon Valley company, we had a lot of office perks around the globe, not just in the Bay Area, but all of our offices have the snacks and the areas and ping pong and people to collaborate and basically just take a time to step away from their desk or a conference room and spend some time with their colleagues. And so when you don't have that experience, how do you replicate that in a digital world? So we would try to do things like happy hours. We would do trivia night. We would do Halloween contests. You're trying to bring some levity to the situation where, it's really, really hard as we're all adjusting to this. We got into a groove and we got into it. So people sort of still want to connect with their colleagues, just in a much different way.
You're now working remotely. People are equipped to a certain extent. What were some of the challenges that you faced, that people faced, that you heard about even at this point?
The big one is how do you maintain culture? How do you maintain the norms? What's acceptable? What's not? We had to embrace this notion of bringing our colleagues into our homes in seeing access to a much more personal perspective in our lives. And maybe it's our kids jumping into the room and interrupting, or our dogs barking, or a lot of people don't have offices or workspaces and they're working from, their kitchen office and that sort of thing. We had to reestablish what all the norms were as part of this, and keeping that culture going that we had that was very office-based, very in person, and trying to bring that to a digital first, digital only environment was difficult for sure.
The biggest difference was people had a different level of sort of just competing priorities, and it was managing through that was the most difficult part for us. The whole life aspect of it. We run a business, we're in the client services sector, and so we had a lot of customers going through a great deal of change. And so sort of volume of work was increasing at the same time when really the capacity of team members is inherently decreasing a bit, given the amount of just extracurricular activity that's coming into their lives.
What untold opportunities or benefits did remote work bring to you personally and others in your organization?
Being home with family, I would say, is a big benefit of being able to work remote. I'm not sitting in traffic. Easily 2 hours a day lost. It's also given me the opportunity to work on my own personal development. I think because there's more time, I'm able to set aside some time to work on things where I know I have a blind spot.
It depends on the type of personality you are, but if you're in an environment where you're less distracted and maybe a little bit more of an introvert, introverts might be thriving through a lot of this, where they don't have the noise and the people coming up to their desk or their environment to distract them. Being able to get a little bit weirdly more personal with your team members, because you are seeing access to their lives and what they're doing and what they're challenging. And so I feel like my team we're probably closer as a leadership team than we would have been if everyone was in the office.
First and foremost, I'm a huge fan of the time you get back. So just as an example, I'm in the United States, I live in the East Coast of the United States, and I used to commute from my sort of suburb into a city for work. And that was an hour and 20 minutes each way every day. And that's just part of what a lot of people do every single day. So when you think of the time that you save when you can do your work in a more conducive way closer to your home or at your home, it's amazing. So I'm a huge fan of, there's so much you gain. You have to use that time well. You got to use it productively. You need to guard it. But that is more time in your day. The other thing that I'm a huge fan of, I've worked places where the headquarters of my operation is somewhere else, and you are ever aware of not being in the room, quote unquote, right? And there's a Broadway show, go see Hamilton, like who's in the room? So there's something that I think is really democratizes access to opportunity, to scope, where if there's literally nobody in a room, it's almost as though like everybody has an equal shot at trying to make their voice heard and trying to sort of affect the course of the business. So again, I think there's huge upside. It obviously comes with challenges, but I think the benefit is you get amazing time back, and you've obviously the opportunity to use that productively, and then hopefully it gives you access to opportunity and scope that might not have been available to you before.